Before the Ranger Creed is recited by a formation of Rangers at any ceremony, you will always hear the narrator say this: "Will all Rangers, past and present, please join us as we recite the Ranger Creed?" Every Ranger will stand, and as they say those 6 stanzas, they are transformed back to a time when they had the pleasure and the burden of this brotherhood. That feeling is hard to describe. However, it's one that never leaves you. It's a connection that spans the globe and can be reignited when you hear the phrase, "Hey, Ranger, what battalion you from?" Amongst this formation, there are Rangers that stand out. They are legends of this elite organization, and when their names are spoken, people instantly have a story and for a moment relive it. Legend of the 75th podcast wants to capture that feeling and those stories. We want to ensure that these legends' triumphs and sacrifices never fade away. So sit back with your favorite adult beverage and listen to the stories from the legends of the 75th. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Legends of the 75th. It's really exciting to have everybody back. Hopefully you had a great week and you're ready to dive into an amazing story with Kelly Roby. So if you don't know who Kelly is, he enlisted in 1996, immediately going to 275. He's got a really, really kind of cool background when it comes growing up. Definitely, Democratic, hippie family and everything else. And then all of a sudden, never shot a gun. All of a sudden, he joins the military and he went on to have an amazing career. So I can't wait to talk about that. He did a total of 4 years before he, went to selection and went to the unit at 22 years old. And Kelly, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but at the time, you were one of the youngest to ever successfully pass the selection process and be selected for service in the unit.
Correct.
Freaking amazing.
I'll take it.
Yeah. There's probably like
somebody's beat me.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. And you got a funny story kind of about that. So we'll dive into that in the episode. He went on, did multiple deployments with the unit, was a canine handler, awarded 2 Valorous Awards, and then 2007 exited the military and has went on for the last, how many years is that? 18 years. Holy cow, 18 years.
Yeah, man.
Done a lot of different things, and I cannot wait to talk about this. I've known Kelly for quite a while. We didn't really know each other too much at 275, had a couple run-ins and then run-ins, on deployments. We actually really got to know each other, and there's a lot of mutual people that we know and we, shake hands and walk the world with, one of them being our dear friend Randy, which is one of the most amazing human beings in this world. So, but we'll dive into all that. So, Kelly, awesome to finally have you on the episode, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. And I will say what everybody else has said. It's a little bit of imposter syndrome. I think that's going to become the take that everybody says on here.
Yeah. Well, I get it, and trust me,
You set it high when you put Legends of the 75th.
Yeah, maybe going back, maybe we would have come up with a different name.
No,
But
I think it's perfect.
Yeah, you wouldn't like to know what the actual first name we came up with was. It was pretty bad. I'm glad that we at least changed it. So, and we ran with it, man. I don't know I don't remember if we ended up designing a logo based off of it or not. I can't remember that. I'd have to ask Kelly or Corey. But yeah, man. I mean, at the end of the day, if I could tailor one thing, is the communication that, hey, it's about the regiment, and that's the legacy
100%.
that we're actually talking about here. And we were all just individuals. We were all just cogs, and we did what we did when we were there. It's about the regiment and what we preserve and paying it back, to the organization.
Well, and I guess we can look at it the way it's legends doesn't necessarily mean a person either, right? It could be literally legends, stories.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of twofold. So it's the Legends of the 75th. I love what you guys have done. I've been watching it for a while. It's pretty cool. It's pretty humbling to be here. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, if we can, let's start at the beginning. So, Oregon, did you grow up in Oregon? Or no?
Yeah, I kind of grew up. Well, no, I grew up everywhere. I mean, I was born in
Okay.
Oregon.
Okay.
My dad used to work back in the day for all us Gen Xers, Gen Z, whatever we are. I don't know. I don't track the generations, but whatever we are from the 60s to like 1980, that generation. Yeah, my dad worked for Minolta, which was a camera company. And
okay. I know who you're talking about.
yeah, Minolta, Nikon, all that. So he traveled to Japan a lot. He was a sales rep for them. And we ended up at like 2 years old or a year and a half old. We moved to Texas for a few years and then to New Jersey for a few years. And then I think when I was about 12, maybe 11, I moved to Oregon. And that's kind of where I spent the rest of the time. We bounced around in Oregon, ultimately ending up, I don't think I spent it was almost like having a military lifestyle because I don't think I spent any time longer than 3 or 4 years in a given place. And then I did high school. That was my longest period of time, 4 or 5 years in the same place in Portland. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Democratic
Portland, what an
family.
amazing city to grow up in the 80s,
Oh,
man.
dude, it was.
The
It was
80s
amazing.
and 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Um, yeah, nothing like it is today. We live just north now, and Portland had a small town feel and definitely
Yeah.
hipster, right? This was all the days of, Dave Matthews, Pearl. I mean, you had all the stuff in Seattle, but it was Dave
Yeah.
Matthews. I saw one of the Grateful Dead's last shows, here in Portland. And just kind of growing up in that environment, it was pretty cool. But yeah, never shot a gun. I was a city
Yeah.
boy.
Please
Never
tell me
shot a gun.
you had like long hair like Kurt Cobain in high school.
I didn't. I didn't. No, I was
Oh
too
man.
afraid. I had the George Clooney bowl cut though for a while.
Oh
Um,
man. Wow.
and
Okay.
one of my idols, I was a runner in high school, and so one of my
Mm.
idols was T. Prefontaine. But
Oh
I didn't
wow.
ever.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't ever have the guts to grow my hair out back then.
Yeah.
So
I went through a phase. It was fucking
long hair
terrible.
phase,
Oh yeah. It
like
was
Kurt Cobain long.
yeah. Well, I was a
Ooh,
huge Kurt Cobain fan. Oh man. My
were
parents were
you
actually
were
like
you a
worried
hippie
about
or just alternative?
yeah, I was just a pothead.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Okay,
if I'm just
fair
being
enough.
honest.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing. Yeah, I was a big pothead. Love some mushrooms. Just partied a lot, and it was kind of we really grew up in a unique generation, I think, between technology and
Yeah.
just not having to worry. It was kind of the best of what our parents had. You could still have a high school party and drive around drunk and
Yeah.
probably not end up in jail if you didn't kill somebody.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were those wonder years of kind of
Yeah.
growing up.
So what spurred, deciding to go into the military after growing up like that?
A really poor GPA. So, so,
A
so
lack of
my
options.
Yeah, 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 literally. I was a high school runner, cross country track. I went down to Eugene with a friend of mine who his parents were really on top of him. I was basically a latchkey kid. I love my
Mhm.
parents, but they both had careers,
Yeah, yeah,
and
same.
I
Yeah.
was, and that was just to provide money to. We lived in a really expensive area of Portland, and it was kind of like Cinderella, I guess, or whoever it is that goes to the ball. We didn't have the money for anything ever. Like just
Yeah.
getting a Letterman's jacket was stressful. So
Mhm.
I was working by the age of 14,
Yeah.
because my parents could give me money, but I would always blow through it. I wanted, the newest shirt or the newest whatever. And I figured, well, I can go work. I can make my own money.
Yep.
So worked at a CD store because those existed back in the day, music store.
CD. Wow.
Yeah, I
Yep.
worked at a pizza place, all that stuff. And when I got to my junior year, I traveled down. Maybe it was beginning of senior year. I traveled down to U of O with my buddy who had done really well, and we were both doing well in running. But I had a bit of a wake up. The U of O coach essentially told me there's no way I could ever get a scholarship at U of O with my grades. So I'd have to go to Lane Community College for 2 years. I'm like, no, I'm better than that. I'm not going to go to college to try and run for you.
Yeah.
So I graduated high school with the help of a friend, barely, literally, up into the last day, passing a class with him helping me do my homework. Um,
Was it just a
and
lack of effort is really what it was, or
yeah, just too much partying. Yeah, I wasn't
yeah,
dumb. Yeah,
yeah,
just too much partying.
body effort.
Literally,
Yeah.
I could have cared less. And I didn't have, I had my parents driving me, but not in the sense of home working with me, more in, go take this by your teachers and have them sign all the pages. And it's like, okay, I'll do that. And they really didn't know how to, I think, push me. My senior year, I had talked to a recruiter, but that went nowhere. He was just really pushy.
Mm.
And so the summer after graduating, I was working at Northside Ford here as a parts runner, really achieving. And
Yeah.
I went to a party with people getting ready to go to college and do all this stuff. And I met a girl, never met her before, who was joining the Air Force at this kegger. And we were just talking about the military. And, I had told her about my recruiter and how he's a piece of crap and tried to force me. And, basically, in my rebellion, I was like, you're not going to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Because that's what he told me. He's just like, you can join the military or you can be a loser. And I'm like, you're not going to, you don't know anything. So she introduced me to her Air Force recruiter, and I went over and met with him, and he introduced me to the Army recruiter. And just like every
Really?
other dude, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
That's
I don't
surprising that he did
remember.
that.
Maybe there's some sort of story in there that I don't remember, but I just
Yeah.
remember watching the video, right? The
Yeah.
video of dudes coming out of the river in Zodiacs, or with Zodiacs, you know,
Yeah.
jumping out of airplanes. And I'm like, that's it. Let's do that. Right. And he's like, well, I can get you a Ranger contract. I'm like, okay, sounds good. No clue what that is. Never, grew up
Wow.
with GI Joe, so I mean, I
Yeah.
remember Flint and all. Like, played with GI Joe a bunch, but I never read any books about war. My dad had been in Vietnam, but he was a stateside
Oh, okay.
pharmacist in the National Guard, so really had no connection to the military. I'm just like, yeah, whatever, sign me up, and didn't realize how lucky I was till I got to
Yeah, no shit.
basic training, and so I came in with a Ranger contract.
Was it quite a culture shock though, just kind of, with your parents and, kind of your upbringing and everything else? I don't want to say like liberal, that's not definitely what I'm trying to imply,
Yeah.
but was it definitely different? Like, being around the military, definitely conservative kind of back.
I think the part that was different was I had to be accountable, right? I mean, I
Mm,
didn't have,
hmm
I could do whatever I wanted to do before. So I still had that rebellious side of me when I came to basic. Like,
Okay.
this is like, I didn't fight it. I dropped right into it, but there was still a part of me that was like, okay, I'm smart enough. You don't have to treat me like I'm a child.
Right.
I will do what you tell me to do, but like, certainly, we snuck out in basic training to go to the PX, and like we were there at, I don't remember what, I was right on the edge of whatever you go in when you go into the ranges, Bravo
Oh, okay.
something, Bravo
Yeah.
258, I think.
Yeah. I don't
So
remember. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
been a while.
So
Yeah.
like I had the benefit of being able to sneak out and kind of pushing the limits. So I was still kind of a little bit rebellious, but I really enjoyed the physicality of the military, right? Because
Yeah.
I'd done wrestling, I'd done track, I'd done cross country. So I came in soaking wet at probably 130 pounds,
hmm
like 5'11", 130 pounds, to the point where they would allow me to eat donuts. Like, they were giving you extra food because they knew they were burning you down so much,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and
Okay.
force
Wow.
you to eat. Yeah. So,
So you were that
but
skinny. Wow. Okay.
I was that skinny, but I didn't know. It never, it never, I never rebelled against it. It just made sense to me. The military just kind of made sense. It's all
Yeah.
taken care of. Number one, I don't have to be responsible because somebody
Yeah.
else is.
Yeah.
The
That's true.
private, you just show up, do what you got to do, and everything else is taken care of.
Yeah.
So it was
That's a
it was
good one.
kind of nice.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, you talked about how lucky you were. So when did you kind
Yeah.
of realize that was it because in basic training guys were talking about Ranger contracts and wanting Ranger contracts? Like when did that kind of you realize, holy shit, I'm one of the few guys that actually has this contract?
It kicked in. I had a drill sergeant who told me I wouldn't ever make Ranger Battalion.
Mm,
Um, there was a point in time, and I think it was later in basic, maybe even the beginning of AIT, and they tell you start talking about what you're going to be doing.
mm,
And I just remember this guy telling me that there's no way in hell I was going to make Ranger Battalion. I'm too skinny, not fast enough. I'm not what Rangers are looking for. And obviously you're in the military now. You're shooting all these weapons. You're starting to hear about Rangers. You're at Fort Benning,
yeah.
right? So I'm starting to kind of learn about what I did. And we had two other Rangers on contract in my platoon. So that was my kind of first realization. And then graduating, um, and going to airborne school, that was all the rippies were at airborne school, right? So that's
Yeah.
when you start realizing, okay, this is kind of selective, right? You had
Right.
West Pointers with us because I think it was summertime or beginning to be summertime. And so we had a lot of West Pointers going through with us to airborne school because it's their summer course, or
Yeah.
it's some sort of thing they are selected to go do. And I started to realize, oh, this is kind of a thing. And then when they showed up at um, airborne to run us down to RIP was when I was like, oh boy, what did I do? Like, everybody else is done with airborne school and we're still going, right?
Yeah.
And you've got these RIP instructors picking you up, and it's a little more intense than it's been, the entire 4 months prior or whatever it was.
Yeah, and I think one thing that definitely stands out, especially with your background, is how many times did those words of that drill sergeant, because you still remember this, this many
Oh
years
yeah,
later.
I remember
How
his
many?
name. I remember it. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that was what, almost 30 years ago. Almost 30
yeah,
years ago now.
yeah. Drill Sergeant
So
Sutton.
yeah. Oh wow. Oh wow. That's really well. That's really well done. How many times
Yeah,
did his words bounce in your head when you were going
a
through the
lot.
tough times in RIP?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot.
And the
Yeah.
reason I ask that is because that seems to be the common, like the worst thing you can tell. Well, the best thing or the worst thing, depending on how you want to look at it, is a guy that makes Ranger Regiment, makes it to the unit, is that they can't do something. That's like the
Correct.
fuel. It's
Yeah,
literally the fuel. You know.
yeah, yeah. It's funny. I was listening to something you did a couple of weeks ago. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and you
Mhm.
were talking about you never took energy from people quitting. And for
Oh yeah,
running,
yeah,
that was always something. I was always a back of the pack and pick people off. I'm very much, I like to watch people get crushed when I pass them. Like
yeah.
it's fuel. I pass
See,
them and you can just feel them deflate and it's like next one. And
see,
so
I don't know why. Because most guys are like that. They
yeah,
love to, yeah, but for some reason, like I
not from
don't
a
know
malice
why.
perspective either.
Maybe it's just because I have a fucking ginormous heart. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm a big softy. Maybe I need to
I think
toughen
you
up.
are. I think you're a big softy. I'd like to ask some of your privates about that.
Oh yeah, well fuck, they would definitely say differently. They would definitely
Yeah.
say differently.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome, man. So so you make it to RIP, and you getting your ass handed to you. This is '96
Oh yeah.
too. '96 was
Yeah.
a weird. Like I've noticed, just obviously now I've talked to a lot of guys from a lot of generations. The '94 to '97 was a weird time for RIP. Like it seemed like guys, it was definitely a different level for a lot of people for some reason.
It was awesome. I mean, it was as far then by this time you're starting to understand what Mogadishu was.
Mm,
I'm starting to learn about Grenada, Panama, you
hmm.
know, and really the only war that's been happening. Like people talk about the Gulf War, which, was big for a lot of people, but really the only direct action stuff is the things the regiment has been involved in.
Yeah.
Um, Struker was one of my
Mm,
RIP instructors.
nice.
Right. And I remember getting to RIP and starting to hear the rumors because there was one of the guys that went to RIP with me was Jamie Smith, who died in Mogadishu.
Okay.
He was the one that bled out, um, got shot in the femoral artery. They tried to keep him. I think it was Jamie Smith, or maybe that was his brother's name. Anyway, Smith, his brother was in RIP with me. And he had grown up knowing about Rangers because of his brother.
Mm,
And I remember hearing those stories and then hearing him telling me about Struker. And then on the runs, I saw that guy was an absolute animal.
still
I
an
know
animal.
he's, I know he's, yeah, he's a different kind of person.
He is. He's a very
Yeah.
much a different kind of person.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
yeah. I
The kind of
I
people
get
you
to
look
talk
up
to him
to.
quite.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. That's awesome. So what what was kind of going through your head and like realizing, okay, you went through basic, you went through airborne, and all of a sudden now, like, the level changes, everything changes, the intensity changes. Now you're hearing these stories
Yeah.
from people that the stories are about and people that have been personally affected by it. It's very different when you're in basic and airborne and stuff like
Yeah.
that because it's almost like at an arm's length, but now you're surrounded by it and you're behind a fence.
Felt like I was joining an Olympic team, like
Mm,
everything that we did. And when I use the term Olympics, I'm thinking war.
yeah,
And in my head, like I wanted to go to the games. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so everything at that point was, we're gonna none of this will be in vain. We're gonna go to war,
yeah,
and it could come at any time. You had the black beret at the time. You had tucked in jump boots. Like I
mm,
was,
yeah,
you just see that, and then you start to see around. You're in the third bat area. You're at the RIP barracks. You have the opportunity at some point to go. Um, I guess it would have been after graduation, but even I remember going down behind the old barracks, there was a river,
hmm,
up kind of, I think if I recall, it's like, you remember the hill, Heartbreak Hill or whatever
yeah,
it
yeah,
was,
yeah,
it's not Heartbreak Hill, but whatever they called it.
Cardiac Hill. Cardiac Hill.
Cardiac
Sorry.
Hill,
Yeah, it
yeah.
took me a
So
second
I
there. Yeah.
I feel like there was a river there, and I remember sitting in that river one day, and I'm going, we were just doing stuff that no other unit is doing. We're running in BDUs, we're doing all
Yeah.
these things. Everybody's out in PT, and you
Yeah.
see these Rangers in black
Some of them are
hat.
walking,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you're just like, you start to get that elevated sense of who you are, and you start to gain that pride, even though you haven't made it into regiment. You're starting to already feel that pride of, this is
Yeah.
what I want to be. This
Yeah.
is who I am. You're taking pride in your high and tight. You're starting to go down to Ranger Joe's to get a shave and a cut.
Yeah. No, I love it. Well, I want to deep dive into this more, Kelly, and I got a couple
Yeah.
kind of specific questions I want to ask. But hey, everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in. Hey, we got a lot more to unpack here with Kelly. We got a lot more to talk about, and we're gonna pick up where we left off. If you're not an exclusive member, I really encourage you to do it. There's a lot of exciting content, over 80 episodes, a lot of behind the scenes thing. We're also starting to do community events. We're gonna be doing those once a month. So there's a lot of access that you're going to get that other people aren't going to get being part of the exclusive member, exclusive community. Additionally, all your efforts, all the membership fees, and everything else help us really, really, truly preserve Ranger history, and that's our whole aim here, and that's all we're trying to do. So please consider becoming an exclusive member.